Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, and it is time for a preview of the 2021 Madrid final between Alexander Zverev and Matteo Berrettini. Well, there's been a common theme this whole tournament, from first ball to last, and that's the servers. I mean, we even saw it on the women's side with Aryna Sabalenka finally getting the better of Ash Barty in what's been a really great rivalry on the women's side of things. The big hitters, the big servers, they are thriving in this tournament. We've seen it before. We saw it in 2018. If you look at the 2018 draw in Madrid, it was a similar deal. John Isner went far. Kevin Anderson went far. Kyle Edmund, these offensive, big hitting players. And now we've seen it again here in 2021 with players like Alexander Bublik. He had an amazing tournament, took out Aslan Karatsev, took out Denis Shapovalov, who's another player who loves Madrid. Alexei Popyrin pulled off the upset, stopped Jannik Sinner before he was able to play Rafael Nadal. And then if we look at our two finalists here, Zverev has done what on paper is just an incredibly impressive thing. And it not just on paper, but in reality, it's impressive. On paper, it's unbelievable, and he's taken out Nadal and Thiem on clay in back-to-back matches. If you really take into account the eye test, and if you watched both of those matches closely, you know that it's a little bit less impressive in reality than how it looks, because certainly both Nadal and Thiem were lesser versions of themselves. But more specifically, where Zverev had an absolute decided advantage in both of these matches is the percentage of first serve points he was able to win, because he served at a much higher level, and he played first strike tennis and aggressive tennis at a much higher level. That's not always the case on this surface, but it was in these two particular matches, with both Nadal and Thiem having below average days on both their serve and their forehand. And that, when it comes to their ability to finish points quickly on serve, to win first serve points, it comes down to that, modern serve plus forehand tennis. Both Nadal and Thiem only won 62% of first serve points. That was the difference. Then you look at Matteo Berrettini, and we saw something similar against Garin, against Ruud. These are players who just don't have the big first serve that Berrettini has. If I look at the semifinals specifically, Berrettini was just able to play better +1 because Ruud did not hit a high enough first serve percentage to really get his looks at those first forehands. And once again, Berrettini plays better big man tennis than Casper Ruud. And in these conditions, in this altitude, in the closed off architecture, although it did get kind of windy in that Thiem Zverev match, but generally it doesn't. And in that closed off architecture in La Caja Mágica, the servers love it. I didn't mention John Isner, who beat Andrei Rublev and then gave Thiem a run for his money. That's another example of a big server having success. So that's just how these conditions have played out. The big servers, the +1 players have had incredible success in these conditions. So that makes it pretty difficult to pick this match, because now they meet. Now it's a clash. Two guys who average 130 miles per hour on their first serve. Berrettini is the player who has a more reliable first forehand, but Zverev can also click when it comes to his first strike tennis. It's not quite as consistent, but not only does he have that first forehand, that transition game sometimes, but he can also hit really good first backhands as well, which is something that a feature that he has that Berrettini doesn't. So it's a clash, and they haven't really played opponents that resemble each other. It's hard to get a feel for what's going to happen in this match, because look who Berrettini's played. Fognini, Federico Delbonis, Christian Garin, and Casper Ruud. None of them are big servers. None of them are, none of them play short points, really, although, Ruud brings an awful lot of firepower on his forehand, but it doesn't resemble Alexander Zverev. None of those opponents resemble Alexander Zverev. Now you look at Zverev's opponents, Nishikori, Dan Evans, Nadal, and Thiem. Well, None of those players are anything like Berrettini. So it's hard to discern what we are going to see on Sunday. I'm impressed with Matteo Berrettini's ability to maintain focus, maintain competitiveness with his home tournament, Rome, next week. That's the main reason why I picked Berrettini to the semifinal before the tournament, but I did wonder, is he going to be able to go past that? Because is he going to be looking ahead to Rome a little bit, which is an important event on his calendar? I don't really think that's going to be a factor here. Kudos to Berrettini. That doesn't appear to be a problem. Physically, I think both players are coming in similar form. Mentally, Berrettini is an underdog, Zverev a favorite, and perhaps you give a slight intangible edge to Berrettini in that respect. But ultimately, I saw something when Berrettini played Christian Garin, and I think it's something that Zverev is going to be able to replicate. So let's assume both players are having a lot of success on their first serve. Zverev is, by the way, protecting his second serve admirably in this event, which is not always the case. But again, I think the quiet conditions kind of helping him. Regardless of the reason, he's hitting good second serves and protecting it pretty nicely, hovering around 50%, not dropping towards the low 40s as he can do sometimes, and not really hitting a lot of double faults. So if both are going to protect their serves really well and play good tennis, first strike tennis off the front foot, I'm going to go with the guy who I know can really make a commitment to making first serve returns, putting them in play, and then scrambling behind that first serve return and trying to fend off the offense, which is, it's going to be percentage tennis. When Berrettini lands that first serve, he's going to win that high percentage. But, you know, the way the tennis scoring percentage, the way the tennis scoring system works, it's just about finding that game. This is going to be a small margin match without a lot of breaks. Who's going to find that game where they're able to win a couple of first serve return points? And what Christian Garin did before he got away from his game plan, and he really had Berrettini on the ropes, Garin's really committed to his defense and his speed, which is pretty elite on clay, and returned kind of lots of height, almost half moonball returns, and then really just relied on his speed to try to chase down a couple of balls to grind, to get back to neutral. And he got some forehand errors out of Berrettini, who is pretty desperate to keep control of the point and not let the ball get to his backhand, although he did protect his backhand very well against Casper Ruud. Zverev is going to be a master at that. He's on clay, he's really defensively fantastic. And that's why these conditions in Madrid are so good for him, because he gets good pop out of his serve. He gets good run out of it. And his offensive game as a whole. But it's also a surface he can defend on. It's not like some of the other surfaces like Wimbledon, for example, where the movement is a lot harder. So Zverev can't defend at Wimbledon like he can at Madrid. But he still gets that. He still gets the effectiveness out of his serve like he would at Wimbledon. You see how that's a great combination? You see how Madrid is so perfect for him? It's because he has that total package. So, I like Zverev compared to all of Berrettini's previous opponents. He's really someone who can bring that serve, bring that big first serve. Berrettini's not a great returner, relies on kind of the second serve aggressiveness, really, is not going to play that well from behind in points, not going to win too many points on defense because he doesn't have great movement. I like Zverev taking advantage of that on serve, but also on his return games, finding enough scrambling and putting enough first serve returns in play, and then just trying to come back from behind, especially the way he defends his backhand, which is obviously so good. Zverev kind of has the two-way game, and Berrettini has the one-way game. So I'm going to go with the two-way game. The caveat is if Zverev happens to lose his forehand at some point, which he can do, where Berrettini is pretty automatic with that shot. It never really goes away. It's just so good. It's so pacey. It's so spinny. It's looked massive on these courts. Berrettini's a guy who gets, again to the Madrid conditions, he gets the benefit of the clay court bounce with the heavy RPM, but the high altitude pace with the heavy MPH. Get it? So, yeah, it's just total package, beautiful. His game has looked huge this whole time. But look, Zverev has been able to neutralize the +1 tennis of Dominic Thiem and Rafael Nadal, albeit compromised. That's partially because Nadal and Thiem were not at their best. It's also partially because Zverev can defend and get back to neutral with the best of them. And his first serve return, when it comes to at least getting the ball back, is really good. And he's just comfortable committing to his defense. So that's how I see this match. I see one play. That's why I give a slight edge to Zverev. I think the margins are going to be tight. I think there's a chance Berrettini plays freer, in which case he's got a great chance to win this thing. There's a chance Zverev's forehand goes off and Berrettini is just more consistent with his +1 tennis, has a simpler game, doesn't have to think about as much, and is really playing a straightforward style, has a superior second serve. There's advantages to Berrettini. There's paths to victory. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the guy who can play the two-way game, who can play some defense on his return games, and also play that +1 game on his service games. Not something Berrettini has seen all tournament long. It's Christian Garin. It's all that speed, all that defense, but someone with a good serve on top of it. So that's why my prediction is going to be Alexander Zverev. I'm going to give Berrettini some love. I'm going to say 3 sets. Great week for both of them. I didn't expect Zverev to go so far, coming off the loss to Ilya Ivashka, coming off the rumblings about an injury. So already a great week for Zverev, needless to say, beating Nadal, beating Thiem, and Berrettini. Again, these conditions are great for him. Won Belgrade, now he's in another final. Berrettini's back. 2019 form already. So both these players should feel great. Should be a good final. Enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.